with you. And Kaitlyn, the city manager of Ludington. Kaitlyn, this is like your 10th year as the city manager. No, I'm just kidding. Has it flown by that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's
I'm
what,
like
2 or 3
10th
years.
year. I'm like,
Am
did
I
I age
aging?
that much, Chris? Jeez.
Am I aging you in regards to that? No, I'm just kidding with you. Sometimes it seems like time flies. It's summer again, which is great to have that upon us. It has certainly felt like it's been a bit softer of a spring into summer, just a tiny bit, but hopefully that will change. I know we have a campaign here at the radio stations to talk about the 250th birth date of America and also localize that into the smaller communities that we serve. So that's starting up this week, and we're excited about that. But it might be a little bit softer of a spring and a summer, and I don't know if that's a good thing because in touristy areas we want to make sure that we invite people from out of town. We want to have them explore and shop and eat and shop some more in the sense. So, what's your initial thoughts of spring? Is it a little bit on the light side?
Um, as for tourism, I wouldn't be able to speak to that. I'd have to, we'd have to reach out to the DDA and the chamber. I mean, I imagine, yes, with having to cancel Love Ludington for over the weekend and reschedule that
Mm,
for 2 weekends from now or 3 weekends from now. Yes, I would imagine that it is. Personally, it's a bummer. Right?
yeah, no,
We expect it to be a lot warmer.
mhm,
But with the harsh winds that we had, they lasted much longer. It definitely is a blessing in terms of on an operations side to have some more time to get Stearns Park and Beach up
yeah,
and running and have that ready for visitors. It was really challenging this year with Memorial Day weekend, kind of falling almost a whole weekend earlier in May than
no,
usual. So it was nice to have it be a little bit, I hate using the word quiet, a
mm.
little quieter than usual though, in terms of just, getting things ready.
Well, and just over the weekend, we saw a few out there, as well as the light keepers teaming up with them for the beach cleanup that happened recently. And so hopefully, now that school is out, people are thinking more summer. But you bring up a good point, and I've had that conversation with a lot of people. Is that it felt cooler? It was cooler in spring in that transition, and sometimes people just don't think, okay, summertime is here. Let's start making our plans. But hopefully that changes a little bit. Towards the end of part of the conversation, love for you to invite our viewers and listeners across the coverage area and outside of that to Ludington. So I'm going to put you on the spot in like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that from now and invite them because I think that's important. We have the Badger, we have the state park that is back open. You've got live music everywhere. You have restaurants opening. You have activities, and like you had said, the Love Ludington weekend that pushing out just a little bit, but it will still be there, and that's an important. It's almost an important expectation now of the summer. Now that it's a few years in for the Love Ludington weekend, so that's exciting to have that.
It is
You have
exciting, but Chris, I think you pretty much just invited people to Ludington right now.
oh, no.
I mean, you didn't even wait. You didn't even wait the 10 minutes. I mean, we're at that time of the year though where there's something happening in Ludington every weekend, and it's not just the weekend. It usually starts on Wednesdays, and it goes through the entire weekend. And we have nonstop events, especially at least through the 4th of July weekend right now, and it will continue through July, through August. The 250th celebration of the country is going to be incredible. The 4th of July is a huge, huge celebration in Ludington. And then you tack on the fact that it's the 250th birthday of the country. It's going to be really special here. Andy's restaurant has their temporary occupancy permit, so they should be opening. I imagine in the next few weeks. They haven't announced an opening date, but that'll be really big for downtown. I'm trying to think. We have the massive trails project that is hoping to apply for a grant that'll go from the Ludington State Park down through Cartier Park, down Rath, through downtown, down Pierre Marquette Highway and south. They're looking all summer long to get some public feedback and then apply for a state and federal grant in the fall and kick off that project. So as people are visiting Ludington or coming back here, it's living in their summer homes, or you live here year round and you're taking time to visit downtown, get ice cream, have dinner, you'll see those QR codes around town, the signs for the feedback for the project. Please take time and provide some feedback because that trail project is going to be really important for recreational purposes. You can go for a bike ride and stop in town or just even around the county as that trail project expands. It will eventually head east out towards Scottville. It has multiple segments and it will really be great for the entire region. But Ludington is a fantastic place to visit, and we're ready for you. Downtown is ready for you. Our parks are ready for you. And it's a fantastic place to be, and we just need the weather to cooperate.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll get there.
Even
So
without good weather, though, there's fantastic restaurants and places to visit, and there's museums and there's Laka. There's fantastic art here, and there's lots to do, even if the weather outside is not cooperating.
very good point. A couple of questions have come up in regards to the trails. I'd love to either put those out there or maybe you can address them now. People are asking where there's no kind of sidewalks or when the trail kind of goes into the remote areas. Do you see that it will be a multi-use pathway, meaning will cyclists be able to be on it along with those that want to walk and not interfere with each other, or maybe somebody wants to go out for a run and such? Or do you see this as kind of a single track?
It will be so every segment is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Um, and the intent is supposed to be that it is multi-use. Um, and so it will not be single track if it is meant to be a shared space with an existing sidewalk. Um, so I'd have to, if there's a specific question about a particular segment, I'd be happy to dive in and answer that. Um, I was specifically assigned to the segment that starts in downtown Ludington and goes out to Scottville. So that's
Okay.
the one that I'm kind of an expert on. But the one that they're getting public feedback on right now from the state park south, there were some different folks working on that. But I do have access to all of the documents.
Okay.
So if there's specific questions, folks can drop them in the comments and I can get back to those questions and answer them. But no, the idea is not to convert existing infrastructure that's currently being used for pedestrians to cycling only.
Okay. No,
That's not the purpose of this project.
okay. Yeah, because you could see those that want to take a bike ride or those that want to go for a longer walk, outside of their normal sidewalk areas, take part in utilizing this. And what's the time frame? One more time, where do you see? Is it a couple years, few years? Is it a year project? What does it look like?
So at least for phase one that they're talking about right now, the timeline is to apply for grant funding this fall and then potentially start construction, which construction really is a lot of painting. It's a
Mm,
lot of signs, a lot of painting. It's not really a lot of actual like concrete pouring or anything like that. Um, and that would start next year. I mean, 2027 if the funding is there.
that's great. That's great to hear. If you are just joining us, we're talking with Kaitlyn Aldrich, City Manager of Ludington, this morning here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits. Something that you can watch on our Facebook pages. We're streaming this live as well as our YouTube channel and over the radio frequencies, our smart devices like your Amazon Alexa, your Google Home, and of course the West Michigan radio app. Let me bring up. I've got the packet here for tonight's city council meeting. And there's a few agenda items. I don't know if it's going to be a lengthy meeting. You can certainly tell us if you think it will be in regards to some of these topics. But when it comes to finances, you've got the 2025 audit presentation that's tonight. Is that something that takes a long time? Is it where you feel like things are on track and everybody has reviewed the information, or what does that part of the meeting look like?
The audit presentation is usually fairly short. It's about 10 to 15 minutes. There's generally not very many questions, and that's because our clerk usually handles most of the finances in relation to the audit, and she's been doing that for over 20 years, and she does a fantastic job. So we don't have a lot of findings related to the audit, and so that makes the conversation pretty short and sweet. Of course, there's always some, notes of things that we could change or maybe do better in the future, but there's just, there's no corrective action plans or anything that's significant that the city has to manage moving forward. So that conversation, I imagine, will be pretty short. Just a note, though, the clerk is retiring, so
Yes.
not that we want the audit to become an exciting or lengthy conversation point in the future. But when you have staff changes, I do there that could become a different topic in the next few years, just as as different folks are learning and as processes change, that audit conversation could change.
And speaking of that, I see on the agenda you've got, let's see, to adopt the resolution, to amend a few sections of the city charter in regards to Deb's position there, something you and I have talked about in previous conversations. But tonight is really the night that you look for the city council to say, okay, we think that this makes sense moving forward, right?
Yes. So tonight, the city council will consider a resolution which includes amending the city charter, and it's a tie bar um, ballot request. So it's amending the city charter in multiple sections, and the ballot, all of the changes in the city charter have to be approved together. If the voters do not approve all of the ballot changes together, the whole thing will fail. So it's kind of an all charter. And the purpose of that charter amendment is to allow for the creation of a. Can you still hear me, Chris?
I can. Yep. Yeah, we had a
Oh,
little garble there, but we're good. Yep. I can still hear you. Okay. We'll make sure that Kaitlyn can still hear us. She might have froze a little bit there. We'll get her back in. And oh, there you are. There you are. Can you hear me? Okay.
okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. I said connection lost. I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, yep.
Okay, so the purpose of that charter amendment is basically to allow the city to hire a finance director. Right now, I wrote a 2 or 3 page memo in the packet. If you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend you read that memo because I go into length about all of the job duties that the city clerk currently is responsible for. Not only is it elections, and the election process has grown dramatically over the last 15 or 20 years. It's elections, it's record keeping, it's everything that a typical clerk would be responsible for. Here in the city of Ludington, it's very unique in that the clerk is also the general accountant of the city. That is super rare.
Mm.
You go and talk to clerks all over the state of Michigan, they'll tell you they don't do that. That is just not something they do. That is an entire full-time job in itself. So here, the city clerk wears 2 full-time hats, and which is why, if you've lived here for a long time, you drive here after 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday or a Sunday, the city clerk is here
Yeah.
all day, every day. And it's not sustainable. And so we're asking for this charter amendment so we can separate those job duties. We can have the city clerk be the city clerk and handle those traditional job duties, but then separately hire a finance director.
You know, can I
We
ask?
can hire a finance director without this charter amendment. In
Okay.
the existing charter, it allows the city clerk to hire a deputy clerk. And that deputy clerk can be granted all of the powers that the city clerk has. What gets messy about that, though, is administratively, the finance director should be its own supervisor, right?
Okay.
It should be a supervisor, potentially with its own 1 or 2 staff members. It should be under the direction of the city manager. But if we follow how the charter is written now, the finance director would work under an elected official
Mm.
as a regular staff member. And that is the flaw about how our existing charter is written. So if this charter amendment fails, we can still hire a finance director. It's just not set up very effectively or efficiently. So we are hoping that this charter amendment will pass. Will it stop us or prevent us from doing what's best administratively to move forward? No. But we're just hoping that we can clean this up a little bit and set ourselves up for success in 2027.
And Deb is going to be there until, or you hope that she will be there until either it passes and you can find somebody, or you can bring in a deputy clerk. Well, do you see any sort of gap happening? Do you see any sort of issues happening in the future if time starts to run out?
Okay, so Debbie's term ends
Yeah.
December 31st.
Yeah.
Because under our existing charter, we can already hire a finance person. The budget was passed in November to include the hiring of a finance director starting October 1st of 2026.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll be bringing on a finance director October 1st. As long as this resolution passes, the next step, if the resolution passes, the clerk will send the resolution to the governor. The governor has to sign off on it. It will then be placed on the November ballot.
Okay.
Whether or not it passes, we will have a finance director. It
Okay.
just will shape, is that finance director under the city manager as its own department head, or is it under the city? Is it under an elected official?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
hope that I framed that okay.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it's an either this will happen or this will happen, but it'll happen. Sort
Yes.
of effect there. Can
And
you?
that will allow Debbie to work with the finance director for 1 quarter, basically, 25% of the year before she retires. And then the new clerk, when they are elected, will come on January 1 and they will take on more of a traditional clerk role.
Let me look at it from the other side, if that makes sense. From somebody, if somebody walks into that into cast their ballot, and they see this on their voting slip, what what are sort of any concerns that they might have that you can help um, kind of settle in their minds? If there are any concerns, is there anything that will arise that you're like, people are maybe concerned about this or that, but here's the answers to that.
So I think some concerns would be is the clerk position still going to be an elected position? Yes. This does not change the fact that the city clerk is still an elected position. It does not switch the city clerk to an appointed position. The another concern in general is going to be, this is another FTE. It's another full-time equivalent at the city. We are in a position where, as a city, we are growing. We have bonds that we manage. We have more complex, like taxing. We have like brownfields, we have IFTs, we have Oprahs, we have all of these different taxing authorities and mechanisms that we manage, and that's all managed right now through the clerk's office.
Mhm. Mhm.
Plus, she manages 1,600 absentee ballots, 3 elections on certain years. We have, all 6 different wards. Each ward has its own polling place. You cannot handle all of those things as one individual. The city has been very lucky that we've managed to do so under one person. The city has tried since there's actually minutes going back to the late 1980s
Wow.
to split this position out.
Mm.
And starting back in the 80s, how the city had handled it was they tried to make the clerk an appointed position, not an elected position. And residents just didn't like that. They wanted the ability to vote for who their clerk was going to be.
Mm.
So I think that's going to be a big question for folks. You can still vote on who your clerk is going to be. They're still going to handle your elections. They're still going to be accountable to you as a resident. Yes, this is going to be a cost to the general fund by hiring a finance director. The new clerk salary for 2027 will not be the same as our clerk right now. That salary will be going down because their job duties are going away. Right? All of those finance duties are shifting over to a finance director. So the 2027 salary for the clerk is going down. That was already communicated in an article that I wrote to the news agencies before all of the ballots and stuff were due for the clerk's job in April.
Okay.
So anyone who was interested in running for clerk was aware that the salary for clerk was going down in 2027. They were aware that the job description was going to change. Trying to think if there's anything else that folks might wonder about. We have a lot. There's new construction every year. Folks are building garages, ADUs. We have new new businesses, changing hands of businesses. All of those things require a management of finances, a management of changing of the tax roll. Eventually that all comes into the clerk's office, and it's one person. And that we don't have enough employees right now to manage that through one individual anymore.
All right. Good information there. And as we get closer to election season, which we're kind of in already a little bit, that we'll kind of expand that conversation. Um, I think the only other question in regards to that topic is that I mean it's a good and bad question. It might be obviously more for Debbie as a question, but you know sh- um, to handle that sort of overwhelming responsibility. Um, she expected that. Did it morph into a lot more than what she had expected? Uh, is it is it contributing a little bit to the change in guard? I guess in the sense, and I say that only slightly.
I won't answer directly for her. What I will tell you is I will answer what she said in public meetings and minutes from when the city was in the process of doing a charter rewrite. There's minutes from that, and so I'll tell you what I've read through minutes and things like that. Um, when she became the city clerk 21 years ago, um, like I talked about before, the the dynamics behind elections has changed dramatically. Um, Requirements behind that list has grown. Since then, also since some years, he has bonded water and wastewater projects. Managing those bonds is an administrative process that has to be done every single year. So then you add on the bond requirements. Then you add on all of the state requirements for Act 51, all of our street reporting. That has changed dramatically over the last 2 decades. Then you add on all of just as we've morphed as an organization and healthcare has changed. Debbie handles all of the employee benefit paperwork, the retirement accounting, MERS accounting, the healthcare benefits for city employees. If you do and handle any of that administration for your organization, you know that hat is a full-time job on its own for most organizations. We have 70 full-time employees, and then some of our part-time staff receive benefits too, and we have about 120 in the summertime total between full-time and part-time. And she handles all of that coordination as well. It falls all under the city clerk. So as we have grown as an organization, as state reporting, federal reporting has changed, you had all of the COVID funding, all of the before the COVID funding, there was, every governor, every president has different funding that gets streamlined down to the local level. All of that has its own reporting requirements. Debbie handles all of those things. Why is she retiring? Because she's been doing this for over 20 years and she's worked nonstop since the day that she could as a teenager, and it's her time, right? It's well deserved. She would, even her knowing that the clerk's position is now just going to be a traditional clerk, she's still retiring, right?
Yeah.
This is her personal choice. It's just she has other things that she's looking forward to doing in her life.
Good to know
Yeah.
that, and she should be commended, for the hard work that she's doing, and it sounds like in the words that you've already told us today that is, that's there, and I'm sure there's going to be more of that as we go.
Yes.
And if you are just joining us, we're talking with Kaitlyn Aldrich, City Manager of Ludington. Let's talk about real quick. There is, and I say it, a dreaded. Is it a 1% tax hike? Is that a fair way to word that?
No,
And the reason why?
it is. It is. It. I will say it is dreaded, Chris. But it is not a 1% tax hike. It is a 1% tax administrative fee. And that is a lot of words essentially for a fee that the city has not been collecting for a long time. You and I think that maybe the city collected it back in the 80s. I don't know when they stopped collecting it. We attempted to collect it in 2019. And the city did not pass the appropriate resolution at the time. So we weren't able to actually, even though the motion passed to collect the 1% fee with property taxes, when it came time to actually collect it, The administration at the time realized that the resolution wasn't passed and we weren't able to collect that money.
Yeah.
So where we are today, we have talked. I have written in my budget narratives. I have talked with the Ludington Daily News. The city council has talked about it. The finance committee has talked about it for months about the deficit that the city is facing. Right now, we have a $500,000 deficit for 2027. This year, we're operating at a $220,000 deficit. We are doing what we can to figure out how to operate on a net zero basis, basically.
Yeah.
We are doing what we can to cut costs. We passed the lease program to save some money. The finance committee has been looking for months at different ways to save some money, to cut expenses. We're, eliminating a position through attrition. In one area, there's just some different things that we're doing. One of the areas where we're not capturing revenue, where most communities in the state of Michigan do, is through a 1% tax administrative fee. The taxing jurisdictions in Mason County do collect this fee. Pierre Marquette Township, Hamlin Township, all of the other townships charge their residents a 1% administrative fee. The city of Ludington hasn't. The 1% administrative fee is meant to offset the city's costs for our assessor, our we have a level 3 assessor and we have a level 2 assessor. Our treasurer for all of our tax collection costs, our GIS mapping costs, basically all of our costs related to collecting taxes. There is a state statute that says you can charge 1% of your entire tax roll and charge a fee to help recoup basically your costs related to collecting taxes. And we've never charged that fee before.
What is the process of now? This is on the agenda, though. Now, what is, or you're asking the city council to finally adopt that resolution then tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have a $2,000 tax bill, there would be a 1% fee added to that bill. And that 1% fee would go into the city's general fund, and could only be used to offset the cost of that we pay for our contracted assessor, for our treasurer, for all of the software that we use to collect taxes. What's unique about this, though, is we are the tax collecting entity for the schools, for the county, for the state. Your $2,000 tax bill, your $5,000 tax bill, your $10,000 tax bill, the city only keeps a very small portion of that. The bulk of your tax bill goes to other taxing jurisdictions.
Okay.
We don't, so we're doing administrative work for other organizations. And we have to hire the staff and have the software to do that. It's, at the end of the day, I'm also a taxpayer. I receive a bill too.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter that the state calls it an administrative fee. It's a line item on your tax bill and it's going to feel like a tax.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. Unfortunately, the city has been operating in a deficit for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Next year, we have a $500,000 deficit. The following year, we have a $400,000 deficit. the city is in a position where we have to start collecting different revenue sources. We have to cut expenses. We have to do things differently, or we are not going to be able to operate um, like we currently are. This is not popular. We started talking about this last year. In November, the Finance Committee agreed on the 1% administrative fee, but they wanted to hold off until closer to the summer, and when the Finance Committee had had several more months to talk about expenses that we could possibly cut. We wanted to go through the lease program, see what kind of money that would save us. We've just a much broader conversation, and well, we're here now. It's been 7 months, and we're at that time, and the Finance Committee talked about it 2 weeks ago and are now making the recommendation to City Council to adopt this administrative fee. If we weren't in this position, we wouldn't be putting it on the agenda. But we have to do what we have to do to balance the budget. It's not a fun conversation.
Increases are never a fun conversation, but yes, that it makes sense. I'm curious, and you don't have to answer, but I'm just curious that so many years went by without it being implemented or I guess authorized, partly because the city was not running in the red. So
Yeah,
it wasn't. Okay. Okay. That makes
and
sense.
even if there are most taxing jurisdictions in the state of Michigan collect this fee whether they're in the red or not, because the fee is meant to offset your cost. So if you think about it, if it allows, if you could offset your cost in one area, so you can spend the tax dollars, not the fee dollars, the tax dollars you receive somewhere else. If we receive this 1% fee, which pays for these costs, frees up this money to go do a project somewhere else. That's the way many communities view this fee. Why would we not collect this fee? So we could go do a road project somewhere, or we could do a park project. As soon as you cut it out of your budget, you lose that revenue, which means you can't do something somewhere else. But the city historically has not run in a deficit prior to I guess I haven't gone back far enough.
Okay.
But from what I'm aware, talking to the city clerk and folks who've been around for the last 20 years, we've not run in a deficit prior to 2020, 2019. So no, this conversation really hasn't been brought up. And we are where we are right now. And so this topic will be brought to City Council tonight, and we will see how that conversation goes.
All right. That's fair. If you are just joining us, we're talking with the city manager, Kaitlyn Aldrich of Ludington. Let's grab one, maybe two more topics that you have that you want to make sure that the community members know, if there is.
Two things.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
One is we talked back in April and March, I think, about PACE, the Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. That is a economic tool for businesses, commercial businesses, or multifamily developments that are interested in improving their businesses or building a brand new complex and want to put in some sort of clean energy or energy efficient windows, roofs, HVAC systems, whatever it might be, and are looking for a funding source. PACE is upfront funding from a private lender, and the city really has nothing to do with the actual granting of the funds, nothing like that. That's all a private process. But the upfront funding, the availability of that funding, the option to even apply for a PACE loan is not available in the city of Ludington unless the city of Ludington establishes a PACE district.
Okay.
We got all the way in April or the beginning of May to establishing the PACE district. City council was ready to act on it. But then the county treasurer had some questions because part of the PACE process is if the commercial business that applies and receives a PACE loan falls delinquent on their loan, that PACE loan goes on their property taxes.
Okay.
Okay. And then at the city, we don't handle the foreclosure process. The county treasurer does.
Okay.
So we got all the way to adopting the PACE district resolution, and the county treasurer had some questions about it. So we paused, didn't act on it until the county treasurer had some time to get his questions answered.
Okay.
And the county treasurer got his questions answered, and we are ready to move forward. And if council is ready to move forward, we are looking to establish a PACE district after tonight. Council will vote on that.
Right.
That neither the city or county will be involving any funds at any point for the establishment of a PACE district. It is right in the resolution. It's right in all of the PACE agreements between the city, Lean and Green Michigan, which is who the PACE program would be established with, and whoever the potential developer is. There are no tax dollars involved with the city or the county that will ever be on the hook for this PACE district. There were a lot of questions about that during the public hearing a couple months ago, and I just want to be very clear about that. So tonight we're considering that resolution. And then the other thing I want to bring up is we talked a lot about the transient boat trailer parking at Madison and First Street. We talked about that we're still going to do boat trailer parking there. It's going to be up to 14 days only. There is going to be a small daily fee to park your boat there. It's back on the agenda again. And that's only because we now have identified what the fee is. It's $5 a day. And so that resolution to establish the fee, the $5 per day fee, is on the agenda. That's the only thing that's up for discussion. It's not, are we going to have the trailers there? Not, nope, the trailers can be there. No one needs to be worried about that. It's just to establish that fee.
You see them, how do you see collecting the fee? Is there going to be um, a ticket booth, sort of a envelope?
Yeah, let me pull this up again, but I believe folks can go to the Harbor View or Municipal Marina gas stop, or they can go, there's one other location. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
And while you're doing that, for those that are just joining us, we're talking with Kaitlyn Aldrich, City Manager of Ludington, this morning. We're on Facebook and our YouTube, as well as Amazon Alexa, Google Home, and over both radio station frequencies, 102.7 and 99.9.
Okay, so it is just at either fuel dock, Ludington Municipal Marina or Harbor View Marina fuel dock. It's $5 per day for a maximum of 14 consecutive days.
Okay, good information there. Especially boating and fishing are on the top of the list for
Yes.
the Ludington area, for sure, and making that happen. You had a third item as we wrap up this morning?
I don't think so. Those were just the last two that I wanted to touch base on.
Okay.
Um, anything else that would be discussed is, I think, nominal, and
Okay.
um, otherwise, thank you very much for um, having me on the air again. I know it was a longer conversation, but we have some bigger agenda items tonight, and I wanted folks to hear about it before we are engaged in discussion tonight at 6 o'clock. Um, so just
No,
inviting folks down to City Hall at 6 o'clock if you have questions. You're also welcome to reach out to City Hall or reach out to your city councilor if you have questions or concerns as well.
yeah, it's great information. And when we go longer, it just means that there is important information to get out there. We actually had a phone call at the radio station just the other day from somebody not in Ludington, but actually in Baldwin, that said they really enjoy listening to these topics and to be able to learn about what's happening in and even other communities. Because I think there is certainly some ideas that come up from our conversations here that affect not only the local citizens but also those in other areas too. So glad to be able to do that. It is about 10:36. We are going to wrap up this morning, but if anybody has any additional comments or thoughts, or of course wants to be able to attend the city council meeting again, as Kaitlyn mentioned a moment ago, 6 p.m. tonight at City Hall, and throughout the summer, like there isn't many breaks at all, right? It is a consistent. Hey, we want to be able to be there for those in Ludington, and city council meetings continue, right?
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. We do have, I know it's earlier and most folks aren't available earlier, but if you're not available at 6 and happen to be available earlier and you want your voice heard too, there is a public finance meeting as well at 4:30, also at City Hall. So just if you're not available that late and still want your voice heard, there is also public comment at the finance meeting at 4:30 as well. So you're welcome to attend either meeting, or like I said, you could call City Hall or send us an email, and we speak with you then.
All right. Sounds great. Great information there. Kaitlyn, thank you so much. Have a fantastic Monday. And for everybody else, oh, by the way, we mentioned a couple of times during this segment about the packet information, your letter, the information that you had put out earlier. People can find all of that information right there at the city government website for every week for city council meetings, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So make
Yeah,
sure.
you can, if you
Go ahead.
just go to Google and type in City of Ludington agendas and packets, there's an agenda center. And you can pull up the packets for all the city council meetings. And if you are interested, you can also be included on the distribution list on Fridays when the packets are posted, are emailed out to all the city councilors. There's also just a general distribution list that the city clerk includes anyone from the media, general public that would like to be included on that packet distribution. You can email the city clerk or myself, and we can get you included on that list. The city clerk's email address is, I can have Chris drop it in the chat
Yeah.
here, but it's D Luskin, Luskin at ci.ludington.mi.us, and just ask to be included in the city council packet distribution list on Fridays.
Yep. And we always look forward to it. That's one thing that I do. I know that Kaitlyn and I are going to talk on Monday because I get
Yes.
that email. And so for those citizens as well, it's great information. It's a long read because it has everything that you could imagine in it to help prepare the city council members and others, but also prepare the public and be able to give that information out there. So very good information this morning, and we'll look forward to chatting with you in about 2 weeks from now.
Well, now question quick, Chris. Are we going to talk in 2 weeks? Because you're going to be coming off Macker.
Yeah. Yeah, we should be we'll be able to do a wrap up then, right? Are we everything's blurring together, so at that point, it'll be a wrap up of the weekend, and honestly, that, that evening, the 21st, we usually are done by, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the most, and we get a chance to take a photo of, Stir and Spark all back to normal again, and I mentioned this in the interview I had with the Ludington Daily News the other day is that um, when we are wrapped up, we instantly see some of the vehicles and motorcycles and beachgoers and so on and so forth that want to take in the sunset that evening on the 21st back in. So on the 22nd, I'm sure I'll be a little bit exhausted, but be able to talk about how Macker went and then also what's on the agenda there. But we're looking forward to it. About 700 teams again this year. A little bit down than last year, but I think just like you and I started the conversation, gas prices are higher, and just the overall kind of slowness is it's out there. It's you can feel it a little bit there, but
It
that's
is,
right.
but actually, Chris, if I recall, the conversation started with an age joke. I think it was a maybe a 10-year advancing my age. So we're gonna see in 2 weeks if Macro this year ages you by about 10 years.
Oh yeah.
About 2 Mondays from now. So folks, I will let you all be the judge of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we're excited about it. It's such a great event for the community, and we just one more point I think would be it's so heartwarming to see. I looked at well, I'll actually give you that exact percentage. 51.6% of those that are playing in Macker are between the ages of 10 and 14. Over 50% are kids, and in that age group, it expands another 8.6% from the 5 to 9 year olds, and another 17% from the 15 to 19-year olds. So when you think about it, that's what almost 85% or 75% that are in that are kids. 80% that are kids, and it shows that it's a family event for the community. So excited to put it on. Excited to continue to work hard at it and be a little exhausted and not shave for days, as you can imagine, and everything else that goes along with it. But that is what it is. So,
Well,
all right.
from someone with 2 kids in that age group, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to watch this event, come to life. So thank you for what you do.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate the support of the city and that partnership. So it's good. Well, Caitlin, I will talk with you soon. And for anybody that missed any part of this segment, you can watch it in its entirety there on our Facebook pages, WMOM or Hot Country Hits, and of course our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Caitlin, have a fantastic week.
You too. Thanks, everyone.
All right. It is 102.7 Mom